Welcome to Flash Core, your sharpest source for daily headlines and deep dives. If you're new here, don't forget to hit that subscribe button and stay ahead of the curve. Just minutes ago, Donald Trump stood at the podium, ready to unveil a deal he'd hyped for weeks, a supposed game changer for the American economy. The anticipation in the room was palpable, with every eye fixed on the stage, waiting for what was promised to be a historic announcement. The plan was nothing short of audacious: massive investment, the creation of thousands of new jobs, and a triumphant return to the spotlight for Trump's deal-making brand. It was pitched as a bold move to revitalize American industry, boost the stock market, and restore confidence in the nation's economic future. Supporters gathered in droves, waving signs and chanting, while news cameras rolled and reporters jostled for position. The narrative was set: Trump, the master negotiator, once again delivering for hardworking Americans, promising prosperity and renewed hope. But in the world of high-stakes negotiations, fortunes can reverse in an instant. Behind the scenes, tensions simmered as last-minute disagreements threatened to derail the carefully crafted deal. Suddenly, whispers of trouble began to circulate, quickly escalating into breaking news. The media scrambled to verify rumors, and uncertainty rippled through the crowd. Leaks emerged that directly contradicted the official story. Details surfaced suggesting the deal was far less secure than advertised, and Trump's team's confidence began to unravel in real time. The deal, once touted as rock solid, was now collapsing before the world's eyes. Investors panicked, markets reacted sharply, and business leaders who had pinned hopes on the agreement were left scrambling for answers. Promises made with certainty were now being questioned by both supporters and skeptics. The entire venture teetered on the edge of failure, with anxiety spreading from the negotiating table to the streets outside. What was meant to be a victory lap for Trump quickly became a political minefield. Allies distanced themselves, critics pounced, and the atmosphere grew increasingly charged. This is the story of that deal, of ambition, risk, and the harsh realities that come with complex negotiations at the highest level. It's a tale of how quickly fortunes can change, and how even the most confident plans can unravel. We'll break down how Trump's plan, once hailed as a masterstroke, backfired so spectacularly. Analysts are already dissecting every move, and supporters are left in disbelief as the fallout continues. We'll examine the reactions from every corner, from heated debates in Congress to the worried faces of small business owners on Main Street, all trying to make sense of what this means for their future. This isn't just about one man's failed deal, it's about the ripple effects on people, politics, and power across the nation. The consequences are far-reaching, touching lives in ways few could have predicted. The shockwaves are already being felt from coast to coast. Families gather around their televisions, business owners check the latest reports, and communities brace for what comes next. And as the dust settles, one thing is clear: the story is still unfolding, with new developments emerging by the hour. Stay tuned as we uncover the full impact of a deal that was supposed to change everything, but instead changed the game in ways no one expected. The deal, officially named the American Heartland Revival Initiative, was pitched as a bold lifeline for the struggling Rust Belt. For decades, these once thriving industrial cities had faced decline, job losses, and crumbling infrastructure. The plan promised to reverse that trend and breathe new life into the heart of America. Donald Trump, leveraging his real estate empire's brand, proposed an ambitious partnership. It would unite his organization, a coalition of international tech investors, and the governments of key Midwest states. The idea was to combine private capital, global expertise, and public support to spark a new era of American manufacturing. The central goal was clear: transform vast stretches of abandoned industrial land in Ohio, Michigan, and Pennsylvania into cutting-edge, high-tech hubs. These sites, once symbols of American industry, would be reborn as centers for innovation and advanced production. The plan called for a staggering $50 billion in investment over 5 years. This money would be used to clear out hazardous old sites, build state-of-the-art infrastructure, and establish advanced manufacturing centers equipped for the future. The Trump Organization would take the lead in development, while major investors from South Korea and the UAE would provide much of the capital. This international backing was touted as proof of global confidence in America's industrial comeback. In return, state governments would offer generous tax breaks, special zoning exemptions, and millions in job training grants to attract both companies and workers to the region. The promise was huge: 75,000 high-paying jobs, a revitalized American supply chain, and a new generation of skilled workers. The plan aimed to restore hope to communities that had been left behind. Trump framed the initiative as a patriotic push to restore American greatness, rebuild the middle class, and reduce the nation's reliance on foreign technology and manufacturing. The plan was marketed as a win for everyone: local communities, state governments, international investors, and, of course, Trump's own legacy. Slick promotional materials promised prosperity and unity. On paper, the proposal seemed almost impossible to oppose. It offered hope, jobs, and a vision for the future. But as with many grand promises, the reality behind the headlines would prove far more complicated and controversial than anyone expected. At the center was Donald Trump, acting as private businessman and dealmaker-in-chief. His son, Donald Trump Jr., managed day-to-day negotiations for the Trump Organization. Two major investors anchored the deal: a South Korean tech giant seeking a U.S. foothold, and a UAE sovereign wealth fund diversifying beyond oil. Governors from the Rust Belt, both Republican and Democrat, championed the project, tying their political futures to its success. Their support gave the deal bipartisan legitimacy. Lobbyists, lawyers, and union leaders filled out the cast, each with their own interests. The project's complexity required careful balancing of competing agendas. Every player had something to gain or lose. The stakes were enormous, and the alliances fragile. It was a high-wire act from the start. The first crack in the ambitious project appeared when investigative journalists uncovered that the South Korean investor, a key player in the deal, was under investigation for financial misconduct. This revelation sent shockwaves through the business community and immediately cast doubt on the integrity of the entire venture. Alarmed by the growing scandal, the UAE Investment Fund, another crucial partner, quickly invoked a protective clause in the contract. This allowed them to pause all progress on the deal until an independent audit could be completed, signaling their deep concern about potential reputational damage. In response, Trump's team scrambled to contain the fallout. They tried to downplay the seriousness of the investigation, issuing reassurances to the public and stakeholders. But behind closed doors, trust between the international partners was rapidly deteriorating, and doubts began to fester. As the independent audit dragged on for weeks, state watchdog agencies and opposition politicians seized the opportunity to scrutinize the incentive packages that had been promised to the investors. Their investigations revealed that the tax breaks and financial incentives were not only more generous than previously disclosed, but also carried significant risks for taxpayers. The public began to question whether the deal was ever in their best interest. Public hearings soon turned heated and contentious, with protesters and angry citizens demanding answers. Political support for the project fractured as lawmakers faced mounting pressure from their constituents. Under mounting legal and public pressure, the South Korean company abruptly announced its withdrawal from the project, sending shockwaves through the remaining partners. The UAE fund, seeing the writing on the wall and unwilling to shoulder the risk alone, quickly followed suit, pulling its investment and leaving the project in limbo. With both capital and expertise gone, the ambitious project ground to a halt. Construction sites were abandoned, offices emptied, and the once promising deal was officially canceled. What had started as a symbol of hope and prosperity for the community quickly unraveled, becoming a cautionary tale of broken promises and dashed expectations. Trump and the state governors who had championed the deal were left empty-handed and facing a relentless storm of criticism from the media and the public. The deal didn't just backfire, it completely disintegrated, leaving behind a trail of legal battles, political fallout, and public disappointment. The fallout was immediate and severe. The dream that once inspired so much hope was over, replaced by a stark reminder of the risks and realities of high-stakes international deals. The collapse triggered a wave of consequences no one fully anticipated. Property values in targeted towns plummeted, speculators lost everything. Local governments were left with sunk costs and dashed hopes. Governors who championed the deal faced political backlash and tough re-election battles. The bipartisan spirit evaporated, replaced by finger-pointing and blame. Internationally, the U.S. looked less stable to foreign investors. The South Korean firm faced scrutiny at home. The UAE fund grew even more cautious. The chilling effect made other investors wary of U.S. megaprojects. For Trump, the failure struck at the heart of his dealmaker image. Critics called it style over substance. Opponents seized on the debacle. The loss was financial, political, and deeply personal. In Washington, the collapse was political dynamite. Democrats called for investigations, warning against risky public-private partnerships. Republicans scrambled to distance themselves, blaming foreign investors or the media. The party split between Trump loyalists and those seeking a new direction. The White House emphasized its own more stable economic agenda. The failed deal dominated news cycles, fueling debates about government's role in the economy. For a moment, the American Heartland revival symbolized the nation's anxieties about jobs, globalism, and political leadership. The fallout was impossible to ignore. On the ground, Americans reacted with anger, frustration, and resignation. In the Rust Belt, hope turned to bitterness as promised jobs vanished. Social media exploded. Critics mocked Trump's business acumen, while supporters blamed sabotage. Hashtags like #TrumpDealBackFire trended, fueling partisan divides. Many saw it as another example of big promises from powerful people amounting to nothing. Trump's base saw him as a victim. His critics saw a predictable disaster. Most Americans, exhausted by political drama, grew more cynical and distrustful. The deal's failure deepened the sense of disenfranchisement. For many, it was just another broken promise. Why did the American Heartland revival backfire? The plan relied too heavily on just two major investors. When one faltered, the whole project crumbled. Due diligence was lacking. Legal troubles with the South Korean firm should have been caught earlier. The deal was built on hype, not firm guarantees. Job numbers were projections, not promises. Public incentives were risky and open-ended, fueling backlash. The project's high-profile, politicized nature made every problem a national spectacle. Tying it so closely to Trump's brand magnified scrutiny and opposition. A quieter, more careful approach might have survived setbacks. Instead, the pressure cooker environment made collapse almost inevitable. The lessons are clear and costly. The future of the American Heartland revival is uncertain. Trump claims he'll relaunch the project with new investors, blaming the collapse on political enemies. Analysts are skeptical. Finding new partners for a tainted project will be tough. Governors are now wary, and the political fallout will linger into the next election cycle. The failed deal has deepened divisions within the Republican Party. For affected communities, the focus is shifting to smaller, local solutions. The experience has been a painful lesson in the dangers of relying on outside saviors. Many now advocate for building resilient, diversified local economies. Perspectives differ. Some see a doomed deal, others a vision sabotaged. But everyone agrees the backfire left a lasting mark. The line between triumph and catastrophe in high-stakes deals is razor thin. The consequences will be felt for years to come.